Hey retailers, welcome to this week's little workshop called the money progression system for retailers. So if you're watching this live, I would love it if you could pop the word live in the comments below. If you're watching the replay, pop the word replay. It just helps me know when the best time to do these videos are, and also lets me know who's watching. So a bit of a fun setup today from the hotel room here in Venice. The lighting is a little bit exciting, but hopefully, well, not hopefully, you will actually get across the message that about what I'm talking about today. So today's quick presentation has a worksheet. If you want to copy the worksheet, just pop the word worksheet below, and I'll send it out to you. Or the team will send it out to you. So what we're talking about today is effectively how to manage money in your retail business. And, managing money is a really, really important component in any business, let alone our retail business. And nobody ever teaches us how to manage money in our retail business. And I'll walk through all of that properly on what I mean by managing money. Excuse me. So you know what? I might just load up the presentation. Wi-Fi seems a little bit wonky here, and I'll just roll with it. So here we go. Okay, so the main problem is as retailers and as business owners, we find that the boat has left us behind. And when it comes to looking at money in our business and managing money in our business, we find that we've missed the boat because we actually don't know where all the money is going in our business. And so that's one of the really, really main issues that we have as business owners, right? We've got all this money coming in to our business, and supposedly we're paying bills. We hopefully are paying ourselves. We are paying our team, but nobody actually ever teaches us how to manage the money that's coming into the business. And for many of us, we still manage it very, very simply by having just all the money come in into one big bucket. And, when you have a big bucket, everything kind of gets convalesced into one, right? You've got all this money sitting in one trading bank account. And when it's all in one bank account, it kind of gets lost because it gets consumed by this one bank account, and then money goes in and out and gets paid for bills and paid for supplies, and you pay yourself, and basically all the money just gets consumed into one spot, right? And that's a really, really big problem because you can't really allocate or understand what the money is doing when it all just goes straight into one pot, because then it just leaves that pot in or bucket in one hit. And so what eventually happens is, because you've got all this money in one bucket, you actually don't really know where your money is coming from and where it goes. So this leads us to a whole heap of problems, because all of a sudden our business quite easily, especially our retail businesses, can consume all this money very, very quickly. And then all of a sudden you've got no money to pay yourself, no money to pay the tax man, you've got no money to pay your team, and you've got no money to pay your suppliers. And it just gets really, really messy because you're constantly scrambling around and trying to figure out where all your money is. And the cause of this mainly is, one, nobody really teaches us how to manage money, right? Nobody really teaches us how to allocate money. Nobody really teaches us, and even if you go to a business school, you're taught more on marketing, you're taught more on growing the business and that kind of thing, but no one ever really talks about how to manage the flow of cash through our business. And to a large extent, this is also a function on the fact that as retail business owners, we tend to rely heavily on our accountants or our bookkeepers to guide us through this process, right? But I don't know about you, but most of us as retail business owners, we know our accountants and bookkeepers are there, but we tend to I guess forget about them, and we think that they've got they do have our best interests in mind, but they think And we end up thinking that, okay, they've got us when it comes to managing this kind of stuff. But quite often, it all happens too late, right? You suddenly realize that, shit, I've got no money in my bank account. I've got no money to pay bills. I can't even pay myself. That's when we start tapping on our accountant's door or our bookkeeper's door to help us try and figure out what's happening to the money. And that's quite often, all too late in the game, because your bank account is suddenly run down to zero. You have no clear understanding on why that's the case, and from now on, you're just scrambling to stay afloat and scrambling to try and recoup all that money in some magical fashion and try and dig yourself out of this really, really big hole. So, and I think that's, of course, we also have our day-to-day running of our retail businesses, which is all time consuming if we haven't set it up properly. And so in between of chasing Mary up for her shift, organizing our stock, doing the rostering, all the other invoicing that happens in our retail business, it can get really, really overwhelming, and it can get really, really confusing on how we manage the money in our business and how the money progresses in our business. Excuse me. So if we get this right, we are going to have a very, very neat, systematized process. We're not going to have any distractions. And basically, we are going to know exactly how the money is flowing through our business. We are going to be in a position where we can pay our tax bill on time because we actually have money allocated for it. We have a system in place to manage the money flowing through our business. So that means that we've allocated money for our taxes, allocated money to pay our team members and our staff, allocated money to pay our suppliers, and most importantly, allocated money to pay ourselves. And this leads us to an overall stress-free business, right? I don't know about you guys, but wouldn't it be great to have a retail business that is stress-free, that you don't need to worry about where you're going to pay your bills from, you're not worrying about where the money is going to come from. But if you get this right, this money progression system, then you will already have the money sitting in different bank accounts. You will have the money, I'm jumping the gun. You will already have the money in place so that you can run your business effectively. And by setting up systems like this, a money progression system in your business, where you're foreseeing everything in advance in terms of money, you actually are forced to run your business more efficiently. It's going to run more smoothly because you're systematized, you're organized, and everything is neat and tidy. So that's what happens when you get it right. And oh, by the way, you're never going to be in this situation when it comes to tax time and your accountant hands you the tax bill and say, hey, you need to pay this. And you're never scrambling, running around trying to find the money to pay your tax bill at the end of the financial year because you have already allocated this money. And that's what I mean by a progression system. If you get this right, when it comes to paying your major suppliers, you don't need to scramble around running, trying to find cash because you've already allocated for your suppliers up front. When you get this right, when it comes to paying your staff, your wages, you've already got the money set aside. When it comes to reinvesting in your business or reinvesting in a marketing plan or considering investing in a marketing plan, you're already organized because you have got a pool of funds ready to be deployed and ready to grow your business. So it just makes this whole process of running your business super organized and super efficient. And when I was taught this concept when I was running my retail pharmacies, it really blew my mind. And it's really, really is so simple. A lot of money managers employ the same system. When you get paid, actually, I'm jumping the gun, but a lot of money managers employ the same system, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And it just means that we're super, super organized. So, excuse me. All right. So here is what you need to do. This is the formula that you need to use to set this up in your business and in your retail business, and to ensure that you are kicking goals and you're super organized in the money progression system. So the first thing is you need to set up buckets. So what do I mean by buckets? This is a popular concept that was characterized by a lot of personal financial gurus, and it's the same system we should be employing in our retail businesses. So basically, we need to have different buckets in our business pertaining to perhaps, for instance, you might have a particular bucket where you keep all allocated bits of money for different suppliers, for different things that you are paying for yourself. So just as an example, for one bucket, I would suggest that you have a tax bucket. So what that means is perhaps every week or every month, as income comes into your retail trading account, you then allocate money away for the tax man, for the tax bill at the end of the financial year. So you have a bucket for that. So that means as soon as money comes into your retail trading account, you've already worked out and set aside sufficient funds into the tax account, and it happens automatically. And I'll talk about systemization later on. So once you have that set up, oops, I just realized I don't have my there we go. No. Yeah. So once you have that set up, it just makes it really, really easy to manage the rest of your business. And then, I would encourage you to consider having buckets for other aspects of your business, perhaps a wages bucket, perhaps something for yourself, your own payment bucket, which I'll talk about in a second. So it just makes it, once you compartmentalize the buckets in your business, it just makes it so much easier to manage your business. You got clarity because you know how much actual money is sitting there. And the fun thing that happens is you actually start to run your business more efficiently, because as money comes in, you're allocating money out into the different various areas of your business. And then you're finding that you've only got a certain amount of cash left over to run your business. Your business actually runs so much more efficiently. So that's what you need to do. You need to start setting up buckets. Remember, if you want a copy of this worksheet, just pop the word worksheet below. We'll get it out to you. Yeah. Excuse me. All right. So the second concept when it comes to the money progression system is to start to pay yourself first. So this is quite a novel concept, because quite often as retail business owners or as owners in any business, we usually leave the fact that how we are going to get paid as an afterthought. We tend to pay everything else first in our business, pay the employees, obviously our suppliers and that kind of thing. But we leave very little consideration for ourselves and how much we need to get paid and getting paid at all. So this is a concept where as money comes into your business, you start allocating money for yourself. And of course, we have a way that you do that, but you need to start thinking about paying yourself first. And this does amazing things, right? Once you start to pay yourself first, and you need to gradually employ this system, you need to figure out how much you need to pay yourself first, and then you need to start putting it into a separate bucket. But what happens is when you start to do this pay yourself first business and start to allocate buckets, like I mentioned, you actually start to run your business more efficiently, because you're starting to realize that you've only got a certain amount of money left over to run your business, and you're forced to be super, super efficient. So pay yourself first is the second strategy that what you need to set up in this money progression system. The third part is you need to systematize it. So, I really love systems and procedures. You need to make sure that all this is automated. And so what that does is when you have a system in place, it's really hard for you as the retail business owner to break the rules. And when it's in the system, everything happens automatically. It happens smoothly, and there's less chance for you to fuck it up. There's less chance for you to sort of dip in and try and disrupt the system, and you not being as diligent in running this process, in the money progression process. Okay. So by utilizing a system, you're forced to play the game at the highest level, right? So that's what you need to do. Stick to it. So this is always really, really hard when we implement this when we start to implement the money progression system, because it's so contrary to the way that we normally run our businesses, right? And by putting things in buckets and making sure that we're transferring money automatically using the system and we are utilizing the system in place, it's really challenging, can be really challenging in the beginning to stick to such a system. And it's the discipline that's really, really important here, because once we get to the 12-month period and you realize when the tax man's coming on the door to get the tax money, you've already got the money set aside. And that is such a great feeling because you're super organized and you've got the shit sorted. So the money progression system forces you to stick to the system. And of course, we need to start tracking and measuring. So when you start employing this system, like with every other system, it's a gradual process, right? So you want to work out what percentages you need to allocate to each bucket. Obviously, we work that out with our clients. And then from there, you need to track and measure and make sure that you are not placing excess strain on your business by transferring money into these different buckets, because you still obviously need trading funds and you still need money for the day-to-day running of your business. So really, really important that you stick to the system, you track and measure so that we're constantly tweaking and we are constantly understanding what's happening in our business so we can, make sure it's running optimally. So really, really important. Okay, so in summary, for us to be super, super happy and, get out of this situation where at the end of our trading, at the end of our trading year, or we want to be in the situation where we know exactly where our money is going. We've got improved profitability because we're running our business more efficiently. We need to start employing these strategies, right? So we need to effectively plan. And effectively planning means setting up those buckets, understanding how much we need to set aside for our tax, for instance, how much we need to set aside for our income that's coming in, how much we need to set aside for paying our employees and our suppliers. Really, really important. Second part is we need to make sure that we are paying ourselves first. So we're allocating money in those bank accounts for ourselves at the appropriate rate. And we need to start taking action. So none of this stuff really works if we're not implementing it in our businesses. So start doing that. So I hope you found that useful. If you want a copy of the worksheet, just pop the word worksheet below. The team will get it out to you. Really, really easy. There's some amazing tips here that you can employ in your business and start doing this in the next 7 days. So until next week, much love, and we shall speak to you soon. Ciao.